Hello, my name is Tim Blessing, and I'm a tenured professor in history. And I have some questions for Vice President Harris as she tries to make it to the White House. And this has to do with law enforcement, drugs, and immigration. And is a third in the series of questions we are asking. So let's just start. Sanctuary cities openly defy federal law. Now, constitutionally, you have a direction in the Constitution that the president is supposed to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. So will you uphold the laws? Will you hem in and force, because it's certainly your authority to do so, the sanctuary cities to obey federal law? You may recall that back in 1832, the slaveholders of the South said they had the right to nullify federal law, to basically make federal law go away if you want to. So will you use federal law enforcement to uphold the law in cities when the city leadership refuses to do so? I think this is a very important question. It goes to the rule of law and order. It goes to the rule of an ordered society. It goes to the rule of democratic government. Will you have people, cities, obey the law in terms of sanctuary cities? Whatever the size of the intrusion in Aurora, Colorado, vetting of those crossing our borders has been anemic. Do you have any plans to strengthen our vetting processes for immigrants? And by the way, if you do have plans, what are they? I think that the American people have a right to know. And going through your website, you're a little vague on this issue. I think some specifics are probably in order. With its international dimension, does the federal government have the authority to intervene in Aurora-like situations? Now, unless the state asks you to intervene as a rule, the federal government doesn't have the right to intervene until they do ask you to intervene as a rule. But there is an international dimension to this, and that brings in the federal government. So do you think that the federal government has the right, I would say the obligation, to intervene in Aurora-like situations? And if so, are these your plans to do so? Would you do it? Drug cartel infrastructure and personnel are increasing in the United States. Do you intend to ask Congress for funds to help local authorities with additional weaponry and tactical support to stop this? Now, I got to tell you, it's said that on 10th Street in the city where I live, that it doesn't matter where you test the street, you're going to get a positive test for cocaine. Back in my home area, which is a very rural area in Pennsylvania, meth and heroin are serious problems. And of course, people die from meth all the time, and heroin addicts, and I don't know what their life expectancy is, but it's not very long. So do you intend to, and obviously this is swamps local authorities, would you ask Congress for funds to help local authorities with additional weaponry? Will you do it? And tactical support to stop the spread, the cancer of drugs within this country. Our consumption is the major driver of the drug trade. If the consumption should stop, well, obviously, there'd be no drug trade. Many neighborhoods are being hollowed out by high levels of violence and drug use. I see it all the time. Again, referring to the city where I live, it has one of the highest crime rates in the country, certainly one of the highest murder rates, and it's because we are a transport point for drugs. I think if you took away the drug problem, all of a sudden, the area around 10th Street, 11th Street in my hometown would probably become a lot more law-abiding. Okay, but nobody can build a neighborhood over there. It's just too dangerous. And people won't go outside after, say, 10 o'clock at night. It's just too dangerous. Under these circumstances, where local authorities simply don't have the ability or the will to intervene, do you believe that there are situations where you would use federal powers to intervene without local or state requests? Again, most of the time it's up to the states to ask you. However, you do have emergency powers to intervene in a situation which is irretrievable, and I would say that in a number of cities across the country, the situation has become irretrievable. The local leadership has lost its will to fight, and frankly, they don't have the resources. They don't have the money for police officers, for police equipment. Would you use federal authority to intervene? And I would say up to and including the National Guard in some places. I know, since I used to spend a fair amount of time around South Chicago, that there are days when the National Guard should be there, patrolling the streets. And I've seen it happen in Guadalajara, where they cracked down with the Army in a particular barrio. So would we do it? Would you do it, given the emergency situation which we seem to be in? Mr. Trump has raised this question, and I think it should be asked of you. Should drug dealers, the bigger fish and the biggest fish, be tried with the death penalty on the table for being higher level drug dealers? Just think about this. How many people have died because the drug lords and because their assistants, associates, their capo de regime, if you want to use an old mafia term, are these folks, should these folks face the death penalty for all the deaths they have caused? And I don't need to tell you how many people die every year in the United States because of drugs and drug dealing. So would you ask Congress to put the death penalty on the table for these kingpins, whatever you want to call them? And finally, will you extend the wall between us and Mexico? You kind of imply on your website and in interviews that you will, but will you? Will you try to get Congress to give you the money to finish it? Congress has to vote for it. I'm pretty certain the Republicans will vote for it. Can you get your Democrats to vote for it? So are you willing to make the effort? Are you willing to spend the political capital to get the money, to get the resources, to get the personnel to finish the wall between us and Mexico? Because without it, it's a little bit hard to see how you're going to stop the flow of drugs, the flow of immigrants, or the unchecked, unvetted flow of immigrants into the United States. Now, I wish you good luck. I wish you good health. And we're about a little over 2 weeks out from the election, and certainly you have my best wishes. So take care, and thank you very much.